Hi, welcome again to Anime Saves Overanalysis. Today I will discuss the possibility of the new Higurashi series being inside a mirror world. Again, a spoiler warning, this will cover all of the original Higurashi and up to episode 8 of new Higurashi Gou. This is the scene that really started this theory. This is the statue of Oyashirosama in the new series, while this one is from the original series. Did you notice the difference? I'm sure you were able to notice many differences, including the arm that was broken on the old statue. However, the most glaring difference is the pose of the statue. You might think that the anime team perhaps made a mistake in drawing the statue. However, we can see the same statue in the OP. And even in there, we can see that the position is consistent in the new series, where the left hand is held up while the right hand is down, as opposed to the reverse in the old series. This gave me the idea to look for additional scenes in the new series. This is a scene in episode 1 where Keiichi and Rena meet up with Mion. And here is the one from the old series. Again, did you notice the difference here? They flipped the rotation on the Waterwheel. This could always be just a decision that the animation team made on the fly, but unlike some of the differences I will mention, this probably was intentionally done, as animating it to rotate in a certain direction probably didn't happen by mistake. From here on out, I will list some of the scenes in the new series, where it was flipped compared to the original. Also in episode 1, the scene where Keiichi and Rena are walking to school, we see their respective positions are flipped compared to the original. Keiichi's house also is different in the new series compared to the original. First difference is the roof of the house, which has changed from being blue to being red, which one might consider opposite colors in this spectrum. The second difference is the position of the windows. The window that has the double panels are shown on the left side of the house, as opposed to the right side. The temple building has flipped upside down in the scene in episode 2, where Rika realizes she has returned, and the same scene is shown in the ED. Inside the fragment world, we see pieces of broken shards, which obviously represent the different fragments that Rika has gone through, but also could be a hint towards the mirror world theory. The same type of shot was also used as a poster for Higurashi Gou, with the different members inside the different fragments. The Angelmote building design is also flipped compared to the original, with the windows on the side of the stairs on the other sides. School at a first glance looks the same when comparing the original to the new series. However, the classroom is also on the second floor as compared to the first floor in the original. I only noticed this on episode 8 as Keiichi is walking up the stairs, but it's clearly seen in the OP when it shows Rika and Satoko, while you can see the classroom is on the first floor in the original here. Finally, the famous scenes in the Watanagashi and Watadamashi arcs happen at a different time in the day compared to the original. In the original Watanagashi arc, the famous ladder scene happens during the night, when everyone is searching for Rika and Satoko, while in the new Watadamashi arc, it happens during the daytime at school. And also, the scenes of Mion locking Keiichi up in the Sonozaki residence happens throughout the afternoon into the night in the new series, as opposed to during the daytime in the original. That was what I could find in terms of the visual evidence. And as I mentioned, all of this could just be a coincidence. Stylistic choices that the new animation team could have made, but it is certainly eerie regardless. Now moving on to the story evidence, as of episode 8 we now have two arcs that are complete, Onidamashi arc and the Watadamashi arc. And many people have pointed out the subtle differences between the different old and the new series, me included. But on the surface, the two series are mostly the same, except for a key difference that no one can miss. In both cases, it certainly seems like the main culprit, but the person who succumbs to the Hinamizawa syndrome and reaches L5 is different. Not only is it simply different, but in fact, the primary suspect and the culprit themselves seem to be flipped in both arcs. In the original Onikakushi arc, the whole time it is Rena who seems to be suspicious, while it turns out the culprit is Keiichi. But in the new Onidamashi arc, the culprit ends up being Rena. And similarly, for Watanagashi arc, the suspect seems to be Mion, while the culprit actually ends up being Shion. While in the Watadamashi arc, I believe that the culprit is actually Mion. Now I know that these points are still being debated at the moment, but this is how I saw the story as of right now. Also, the names of the new arcs all contain Damashi, which means deceiving, and it would fit well with the reflection in the mirror that deceives the viewer into thinking it is the truth. It is actually a flipped version of reality. The final piece of evidence will require a bit of Japanese knowledge that I will try my best to explain. Everyone calls the new Higurashi as Higurashi Gou, but this is actually not fully correct. In fact, the author has said that the first core will be called Higurashi Gou, while the second core will be called Higurashi Sotsu. Now, the Gou and Sotsu names by themselves roughly mean karma and low-ranking soldier, or outgrowing, which might make sense on its own right. However, anyone who has taken even an intermediate level of Japanese can tell you that the first word that comes to mind when one sees these two kanjis next to each other is Sotsugyo, which is the word for graduation, which is conveniently the mirror image of Go and Sotsu. The word graduation seems to make much more straightforward sense, and the Higurashi could be the author's way of finally ending and moving on from the series. It could also be because the second part of the series might be placed in high school, as some are speculating due to St. Lucia's uniform that Rika was wearing. One final thing of note, assuming that the theory of mirrorworld is true, as far as I know, the only character in the new series with a reflection so far has been Satoko. And if this is true, perhaps we really will get this scene in the Watadamashi arc. So what are the implications if this theory ends up being true? I can think of quite a few possibilities, but if you watched my previous video on how Satoko might be the new Mastermind, you might remember me saying that the biggest weakness with that theory was that it seems to go against the established theme in the original series, where the theme was trust in friends to overcome the trials. However, if we assume that this world is actually a mirror world that was created by some being, and that all characters are just game pieces, and that Satoko is the main character trying to break free of this world, then it makes sense for Satoko to be the looper and a mastermind without breaking the established theme. Finally, I will conclude with some additional evidence that was uncovered since I made the last video regarding Satoko being the mastermind, including many that were shared in the comments. Episode 8 starts out with Rika missing, and Satoko accuses Keiichi as the last person to talk to Rika, even though in the previous episode, Satoko was the one that interrupted them and lured Keiichi to play dodgeball. Also, Satoko seems much calmer and more reserved than usual, even though her friend is missing, similarly to how she didn't really care much about the village head's disappearance. Another thing to note is that Mion mentions that torture tools in Sonozaki residence basement were never used for their intended purpose, which is weird since they were used on Shion in the fingernail scene in Meyakashi arc, which could be a hint that something different happened to Satoshi. Finally, in the episode, we have a scene of both Satoko and Mion lying dead next to each other. This is similar to how she was found dead with Rika at the end of Onidamashi arc, and makes Satoko seem overly suspicious. Now looking again at the OP, one commenter mentioned that in the original Higurashi Kai opening, there is a silhouette of Takano, who was the mastermind in the original. This makes the silhouette in the new OP seem very much like the mastermind, who in this case I'm suspecting to be Satoko. Also, this and this teddy bear in the OP and ED were never in the original Higurashi, and the only teddy bear mentioned was the giant one that Satoshi was planning to buy for Satoko. If in the new series, Satoshi only bought her the small bear, he would have had enough money to run away as was suggested. It would be interesting to see how things unfold in the Watadamashi arc, and looking out for the bears will likely be a key point. On the topic of OP and ED, I recently watched the full versions and noticed many lines that could be interpreted as a support for my theory. This line mentions how the distortion in the light makes the logic lost. Different mirrors can distort the image that is reflected in the light. This line mentions a place I long to return to, and this line, "No one was closer to you," could be interpreted as Satoko, saying she wanted to return to the time she enjoyed with Rika, which might have caused the loop to start in the first place. Part that was only included in the full version makes this even more clear. The translation in this video is a bit off, so I'll try my best to convey what this part says. It roughly means I chased you more because I wanted to know more about you, which could be interpreted as Satoko joining the loop to be closer to Rika. And the next part basically says, if this sky was a made-up prop, which seems to hint that the current world is actually something that was artificially created. In any case, the lyrics seem to suggest that the speaker for the both OP and the ED is the one that has caused the events of the Higurashi, in other words, the mastermind. And it does seem directed towards Rika from the context, which makes Satoko and Hanyu the primary candidates for the speaker of the OP and the ED, or it could be both of them working together. In which case, what looks like feathering could actually be Hanyu that has grown up. Anyways, that's it for this theory. Please like and subscribe and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And I would like to take this time to thank everyone for their tremendous support. Thanks, bye.